Hey everyone, Fina here from Fina Reads. Welcome and welcome back to my channel, and apologies for the slightly stuffy nose. I think I'm about to get sick, so I'm recording this really quickly before I actually get sick. And in today's video, I want to talk about all the books that I read in October. What a weird month. It just finished and I feel like I forgot everything already, and I think the main reason for that is because I was at MagicCon at the end of October and I feel that wiped out all my memories of October. So I actually had to look, what did I read? What was the book about? Did I like it or did I not like it? We will see throughout the video. I can tell you as much. It was a weird reading month. I don't really have a favorite. There was no wow book this month, unfortunately. You know, those things happen. That's okay. But before we dive into the books, as always, there will be stats because we love them. I only read a total of 5 books with 2,687 pages, so an average of 537 pages per book. That shows you I read a couple of chunkers this month. 2 of those were fantasy, 3 of those are a weird genre mix, like horror, thriller, horror, paranormal. And then do the ratings, and that's where you will see how meh of a month it was. I only had 2 4-star ratings, 0 5-star rating, then 2 3-star rating, and 1 1-star rating. Although I think this is a little bit of a, I was just so annoyed at the end of this book. Realistically, it's probably also more like a 3-star, maybe a 2.5-star book. Let's just go in genre order, starting with fantasy. I read Dark Drinker by Zamil Akhtar, which was my most anticipated release of the year. It was good. But it was not as great as the first 3 books. I'm sorry, Zamil. Obviously, I can't talk much about the story since this is book 4 in a series. If you're interested in hearing more about Gunmetal Gods, I put out a bunch of reviews, spoiler-free and spoiler-filled, for the individual books in the series. I put the links also down in the description. So my problem with book 4 was that I was really missing the character depth. This was really more a plot-heavy book because it went back into the past a little bit and then looked at the other side of a continent and showed some of the characters and what was happening over there. Because of that, we probably didn't need as much character depth, which, you know, that's okay. It was just, I think I went in this with the wrong expectations just because I've read book 1 till 3 so often by now that I'm so used to that, that it was a little bit of a moment for me. But on a good note, when it comes to Gunmetal Gods, my Kickstarter arrived, and are you freaking kidding me? This must be the most beautiful Kickstarter book that I've ever received in my entire life. It is so beautiful. The whole team did an amazing job. The art is so amazing and it fits the book so well, and I cannot wait for the Kickstarter for book 2, Conqueror's Blood, which is supposed to start sometime soon. I'm not 100% sure. Just in case if you missed it, Zamil, the author, already said on his social media that he will be making book 1 available in the Kickstarter for book 2, so you can order both of them at the same time. And it's such great quality. I mean, it's just beautiful inside and out. Like, everything is gorgeous about this book. The second fantasy book that I read was Ghost Money by Stephen Blackmore, which is book 5 in the Eric Carter series, and that was a fantastic read. Short, quick, urban fantasy, nothing complicated, although it was technically a reread for me because I listened to the audiobook, and after I was finished, I was like, what even happened just now? Like, I didn't get half of the story that was happening, so I decided to reread it in ebook form. Much better. Finally, I know what happened. And I just love it. It's so Eric Carter is a necromancer, which I already find very interesting. He communicates with ghosts and he can step over the veil into the land of the ghosts. He's snarky, what I like, and it's just fun to observe him in doing whatever he is doing. And in book 5 in particular, we went into a new arc, so book 1 and 4 feel like its own arc, and then in book 5 we're stepping a little bit into another world. We are being introduced to a bunch more other beliefs and magical systems, which is, by the way, one thing that I really like about the series, that he is borrowing from maybe not so common belief systems, for the lack of a better word. There's a different word for that, but I'm blanking right now. Like book 1 and 4 is very Aztec heavy. Book 5 goes more into like Chinese belief systems and what ghosts are called and the different types of ghosts and, you know, that kind of stuff. It's fun. I definitely will continue reading the series whenever I feel like, you know, I need something light to read. All right, I don't know why it got so dark all of a sudden, but turning the lights on so you can see. Jumping into the weird genre mix category of paranormal horror, thriller, whatever. Starting with Extreme Makeover, which is the Thrill, Chill, Kill book club pick in the Book Astronomy Discord for October. And that was one that I was actually really excited about because the premise sounded really interesting, which is they are inventing a lotion that is supposed to, you know, make you glow, whatever lotions do. But by accident, that lotion is actually changing the DNA. And the book is about first them figuring this out, what is happening and why this is happening and what actually is happening, which that was my favorite part of the book. And then it turns into, okay, what are we doing now with this? And the world falls apart. And, you know, other things that I can't talk about because they would be kind of spoilery. I listened to that as an audiobook. That was mistake number 1 because the narrator was not great. He was very monotone and boring. And even when I was trying to listen to him and really was sitting there, it's like, okay, I'm listening to this story now, I felt myself zoning out. And then half an hour later, I was like, oh, shoot, I'm still listening to him. There were just a couple of things that I writing wise didn't like. There were 2 scenarios where it was very obvious for me that he used the exact same sentence in one chapter and then a couple of chapters later. How did no one notice this? An editor should have noticed it, and then they could have rewritten one of those sentences so it's not as obvious that it's the exact same sentence twice. And then just some of the plot decisions were not my thing. I didn't like the sexualizing of some of the characters, like generally how females were treated was not great. You know, usually I can overlook certain things because unfortunately that's just the way it is sometimes, but it was to a point where it's just like, oh, come on, you could have done so much more with this story as part of that, but you decided not to. And that bugged me at one point. And then one of the things that then really bugged me with the narrator was close to the end. There was then a meeting of different heads of the worlds and of different countries of the worlds, like from Germany, China, and whatnot. And at that point, the narrator decided to do accents. And I hated when Americans try to do German accents. It always sounds silly, and it's like this Hollywood over-the-top type of silly, where I'm like, why are we doing this? As a German, I'm not getting easily offended, but that really offended me. And it offends me in Hollywood movies too. It never sounds authentic. It never sounds good. It just sounds dumb and silly for me as a German. Rant over. As you can imagine, this was my 1-star book. I was just so annoyed at the end. I was so happy when it was over. And then we're coming to the book that I was really proud of reading because I think it was in one physical book, the longest book that I've ever read in my life. Yes, I've read Game of Thrones. Yes, I've read Malazan, but I read them all in German, which physically are 2 separate books. Under the Dome by Stephen King was over 1,000 pages. I don't know exactly anymore. It was over 1,000 pages, which I believe makes it the longest book that I've read so far. So Under the Dome is about a small town that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, is covered by some sort of dome. No one knows really what it is made of. No one can penetrate it. No one can get in or out. And as people are starting to realize what's happening, interesting things are happening then in that small town. And there are things that you would expect are happening, but I love observing all of these situations from all of these different peoples that we get to follow throughout the story. The very decisive ending where people are either or, like they love it or hate it, I'm very neutral on that. When I realized what it was and was kind of like, okay, fine, I don't care really. What bugged me though, and why I didn't give it 5 stars, was the fact that the plot was relying very heavily on people remembering like their seizure dreams at the exact right moment. And that didn't happen once, it happened a lot. If you're interested in hearing how Under the Dome ranks as part of all of the other Stephen King books that I've read so far, I actually just put out a video where I'm ranking all of the Stephen King books that I've read so far. And I did that right after finishing Under the Dome, so that is part of that video. And then the last book was kind of a mood pick slash library hold came through, and that is House of Class by Sarah. I'm blanking on the name. I put the cover up here. Starts with a P. This book is about, she's not a lawyer, but I'm something similar. So she helps courts and judges and other people decide what to do with teenagers in divorce situation or abuse situations or all that kind of stuff. So she gets close to the teenagers, works with them, and then figures out, okay, what happened, and then provides a recommendation to whatever, the judge or the people that need to have that recommendation. And she gets a new case with a very young girl. Usually she doesn't work with young kids like that, but that young girl watched her nanny die and has been mute since then, and something is going on. So the people don't know what actually happened with the nanny, so that is one part of the book, figuring out who actually killed her. And then there's another part where that lawyer character is trying to figure out what's going on with the kid. And the reason why I actually had this on my library hold is it was supposed to be a creepy kid kind of trope. And there is, especially at the beginning, some stuff going on with a child where like, ooh, where's this going? Because I love me a good creepy kid trope. Again, what does that say about me? I don't know. And I listened to that as an audiobook, and similar with Extreme Makeover, that audiobook narrator was not good. But I was invested in the story enough at the beginning that I kept listening. It ended up being just kind of, I was whelmed, as they say. I was not underwhelmed, I was not overwhelmed, I was just whelmed. It was an okay story, it was a bit boring at times, it was not as creepy as I was hoping it would be. And the one thing, again, the writing just didn't work for me. I did not like the overuse of adjectives for her. Everything was described, and everything was overly described. Ugh, it was one of those, hype books that is actually not that good, in my opinion. If you liked it, I'm more power to you, right? Everybody has their own opinion on books. It was not for me. It was okay. It was not for me. Yeah, so overall, it was a meh month that left me a little bit in a hangover, which is why in November I'm sticking to mood reads. If you're interested in seeing what I picked for November, you're welcome to watch my November TBR as well. And then if you like the type of books I read and generally the content that I put out, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And then there's nothing else left to say other than I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I see you soon with another video. Bye!